It is the commish of insurance and fire marshal, too, by the way. Mike Chaney, good morning, sir. How are you? It's good to have you.
Well, Paul. Good to be on. It's been a while.
It has been a while. You're kind of bassy there, but I appreciate the headset and everything else, so we're ready to rock and roll on this one. And I know the number one thing is not to get into the Blue Cross Blue Shield, but just back me up on this one. I won't ask you anything else. The talks start when?
The actual mediation talks will start Monday. I'm not privy to the exact time, but they will start Monday. It's been...
they will start on Monday.
They will start Monday. It's been a slow process to get them to the mediation table, and as everyone knows, Blue Cross and UMMC will both be out of network with each other beginning June 30th if we do not have an agreement by then.
All right, so that's about all that we can talk about on that one. Hopefully they'll have something come together on it. But give us the other news here. I haven't had talked to you in quite a while as far as the updates on where we are and anything that's been happening with the agency or with the commission. So what's the update?
Well, the main update, I spoke to the independent agents Tuesday morning, actually day before yesterday, and basically told them the same thing I'm going to tell you. The commercial rates for automobiles look like they're going up. We have very little control to keep those rates low, except to just look at the real need for the rate increases. And most of that's due to the economy, the driving, and the fact that we've got a litigious atmosphere out there when someone has a wreck, not necessarily in Mississippi, but in other states, which affects all of us in some shape, form, or fashion. The claims denials look like they're going up for some specific companies, and that's usually on roofs and hail damage. They're usually centered on just one or two companies. Most companies do a pretty good job of taking care of the claims process, but that's a big issue for us. If somebody has been paying insurance for years and never had a claim, and all of a sudden you have a hailstorm, and they're saying, oh, you only got 2 or 3 shingles that are bad, and that's all we're going to replace. That's just wrong. So we're trying to work all of those problems out. And then the main thing, I had lunch with Lieutenant Governor Delbert Holzman a couple of weeks ago, and he said, Mike, what do you see the most urgent thing coming up for you in the next session in 2033? And I looked at him and I said, you're not going to believe this, but the biggest thing that we're probably going to face is pet insurance. And he just laughed. And I said, I'm serious. It's a big deal for us. I'm chair of the C committee for the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, and that's the big deal for us. Been working on it for a year and a half. As to what
okay, hold on. It was a little bassy, and I didn't understand it because I got bad hearings here. But did you say pet, P-E-T?
PET is in pet insurance, like dog, cat,
pet
horse,
insurance.
Cow, pet insurance. And here's the kicker, Paul. Pet insurance is considered property, chattel property. So a dog and a cat's considered property, a personal property, a chattel property. So that insurance falls under property and casualty and not under health insurance. And then you have companies like, let's say, Aflac, which is in medical supplements and health insurance, want to sell pet insurance in addition to human insurance, health insurance.
Yeah.
And they're not licensed to do so, so that presents some problems of how do you license someone to sell pet insurance who's selling health insurance for humans? You can't make this up. It's crazy, but here's the deal.
With all the other problems.
Many people well, do we have a problem here, Dean?
It's a little bassy, but we'll continue here. I want to ask you, we're talking about cat coverage. Are you talking about the health insurance, or for some reason if the cat disappears, or both?
Well, we're talking about health insurance at the veterinarian. So you may have insurance that would cover an emergency for your cat. May have cancer. It may have some type of sickness. And I don't know a lot about cats except we have one and they eat a lot and they like to rub on you a lot. We've had one for 17 years. You buy insurance to protect your pet. It's pretty simple. If you got a dog, you may have insurance if you have a dog like let's say water terrier, someone that runs a lot, or retriever, they may have something wrong with the hip or something wrong with their hamstring, and they have to get it fixed. So that's the type of insurance that you buy.
If I'm just asking you a question because I don't know this, but if you just wanted the health insurance on your washer or dryer or your car after the insurance goes off, you wouldn't go through the Department of Insurance, Commissioner of Insurance. Why? And if a veterinarian wants to sell that insurance, why would the health commissioner? I mean, why would you be involved in that?
Well, it's an insurance product, and that's the state law and the federal law, and it's crazy. I understand that. It's a little different from a home warranty, like you may have on your washing machine or your car. If it's a car warranty, you get 50 calls a day on spam calls trying to get you to buy a car warranty. But health insurance, even for animals, is a little different from what you may have on humans. And if someone's going to sell that insurance, they have to have some knowledge. So generally speaking, at a veterinarian clinic, you may have someone at the desk that says, hey, by the way, would you like to buy pet insurance? And here's a brochure on what is covered and not covered. Mm-hmm. And if you would like to buy insurance, this is who you can call. That's okay. But if they try to sell you that policy, then they got to have some training. And the issue is, should they have 40 hours a year of training, or should they have 12 hours? It's called continuing education. Should they have to take a test? And we get into all sorts of things as to what should your background be if you're going to sell pet insurance, and how much education do you need to sell pet insurance. So you just think about that.
Are we coming to the table late on this, or do other states do this? In other words, are they already doing it?
Well, you've got a couple of states that are doing pet insurance, like California and New York, and I'm not sure if that's for Democrats or what it's for, but anyway, we have people selling pet insurance now in the state of Mississippi, and it's okay. We've got a handle on it. But the new regulations are called model laws. It just means that the states should pass those laws. And my job is to make certain that we don't have some Looney Tunes out there trying to pass laws that will not work selling pet insurance. It's pretty simple. But we already have pet insurance in the state of Mississippi, and it's sold by agents.
Yeah. I will say this. I mean, you can run up a bill. A little Chihuahua gets sick. All of a sudden, you've got a bill, a pretty big bill. It's just almost like a kid, and for a lot of families, that can get out of control. There was a story a couple of weeks ago about maybe Obamacare premiums going up, and then I read another story on that one that counteracted. And so I'm not sure, but is there any validity to that as far as the premiums? Maybe scheduled to rise in the near future?
In some states, you're going to see premiums rise. In a lot of other states, in Mississippi, I can't tell you for sure what will happen, Paul, but I do think we'll see some modest increases in Mississippi. The deal is the companies do not have to file those rate increases until next month. We get a preliminary review of what they're looking at, and then we have to go in and look at what we call the medical loss ratios that they have, that comply to law, and then we will make a determination if the rates are fair or not. If the medical loss ratio is out of kilter, in other words, if they're not spending, say, 85% of the premium dollar medical care, we may make them reimburse part of that, and that will lower the rates, and that's been the case before, and we keep a pretty tight handle on it. Now, we do not do that for groups outside of the Obamacare or the ACA. We only do it on the ACA and individual policies sold within the states. I have no authority to control group rates, which all of that bleeds over into some of the controversy that you have between the University Medical Center and Blue Cross Blue Shield. But we don't need to get into that right now. What consumers need to know, the 120,000 people that have the ACA products, is that rates will probably go up modestly. I don't know what will happen to the tax credits. We seem to just have just plenty of money out of Washington, but you and I know that somebody's got to pay that money back, and that we can't keep throwing money at a product. So I would say that rates will go up some. I'm not sure what will happen on the tax credits.
We got another segment here, just a quick, real quick segment to close out the show, and I want to ask you this question because I think it's going to come back up, and hopefully they will get into it both sides, the House, the Senate, and the governor, on one way or the other about the Medicaid expansion, or at least the postpartum, once again, and I think that's going to be a big story coming up in 2023. Your views, have they changed, or what's your view on this when we come back with the Commissioner of Insurance, Mike Chaney, live from his... Are you at home or are you at the office?
I'm at home because I couldn't get to the office. That was this morning.
I thought I saw some... I did see some ducks back there on the river. I thought that's where you were. Back with more coming up next. On the Thursday edition of the Gallo Show, I have a small therapy clinic. BCBS has not increased our rates we are paid in 12 years. I don't understand how BCBS can justify keeping increasing rates. I no longer can afford insurance for myself or my employees, even in the healthcare exchange. And UMMC seems to play this game every few years. Just one of the many comments to the commissioner and to the audience that I thought I would pass along. The guy's name was Iron Eyes Cody, the Indian on the litter, and the guy was a Sicilian, by the way. It reminds me of the guy who did the commercials for the beer. Stay thirsty, my friend, was actually not Spanish, but a Jewish guy. But that's another story for another time.
He's not just
on the issue. No. We come from a different part of Italy. Let me put it that way. Or the grandparents did. Let me ask you about the Medicaid expansion. Have your views changed over the years, or as you stand today, your advice as the insurance commissioner?
Well, my views haven't changed a whole lot. We missed the boat on Medicaid expansion, and it was due to the fact that we weren't, the leadership was not sure they could trust the federal government. But the government hasn't changed Medicaid too much on the expansion side. They increased the amount of dollars that the state would get, but that's kind of gone away. I will tell you, we probably should have, if we had increased or expanded Medicaid, I don't think it would have hurt the state as much as some people think it would have. But today, it's hard to make the numbers work on a case for expansion. The problem you have is, Paul, if you do not have healthy people in the state of Mississippi, you're not going to have good employment. So a good case in point is Grenada, Mississippi. They've announced that Milwaukee Tools is going to expand there. And the next day, suddenly we have Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and the University Medical Center out of network with each other beginning July 1 if nothing happens. And guess who owns a hospital in Grenada? The University of Mississippi Medical Center. So I had calls all day yesterday on whether or not we would have health care up there. And what happened since we hadn't expanded Medicaid, what was my position? I said, we'll fix it. You know, my job as your commissioner of insurance is to be certain we protect the consumers of this state. And I understand the comments you got a while ago, but going back to the Medicaid expansion, we've got to look at a lot of details. I know that MEC is coming out for expansion. The Mississippi Economic Council, the state medical is going to come out for expansion, and that will be a decision that the legislative body will have to make. It's not something that I make. I have to stay as far away from Medicaid as I can, but I still have to understand it. It's very complicated, but the bottom line is that we have very little say-so in whether or not we expand or don't expand, unless the administration in Washington now gives us that responsibility, which I don't see that happening, not at all.
Can you, when you look at it though, and I always keep going back to this as playing devil's advocate, when you look back on, what is it, nearly 750,000 people in this state?
That's 750, that's correct. Yes.
750,000 are receiving free insurance from the taxpayers of this country and the state. Has that, and it's been, and that has been in force for how many years? Decades and decades. Has it made us
for a decade that I'm aware of? Yes.
Yeah. So has it made us a healthier people in the state of Mississippi? Has it reduced poverty? Have we become? Are we just cultivating and managing it? Is it? I need to go back and talk about performance base, but is it solving the situation? And if it's not, you put another 350 or 400,000 people on it, and it becomes generational. I think those are fair questions to ask.
Well, they are fair questions, but I don't think you'd put 300 people back on the Medicaid rolls. I think if they did expand Medicaid, they'd probably put about 100 to 150,000 on. That's the numbers that we think would happen, and that's based on some Milliman studies, and some other smart people have told us that that's what they see would happen in the state of Mississippi. People like the Kaiser Family Foundation and some of the other smart groups that are out there. I don't opine on that, but I will say that if you had not had Medicaid in the state of Mississippi, you got to look and see, would we be worse off than we are today? Did we just maintain status quo? And that's basically what we've done. But you got to remember that some of that affects the hospitals in the state that agreed back in the 90s when Ray Mabus was governor that if we closed the charity hospitals, we would take them all in and spread them around the state and take care of the poor and the indigent people that have no insurance at all. And what that has done is put a burden on the hospitals. So the hospitals have to do more charity work, indigent care, as you may call it, and that makes the bottom line look horrible. So you asked me about postpartum.
We're almost out of time. I do want to ask you just yes or no on this one, because a lot of those smart people who figured out that 100 or 150 in most every other state that expanded Medicare, most every other state that expanded has undershot the number. Some of them almost double what they expected, but we can have that conversation for another time.
Yeah,
always good talking to you, sir. I appreciate it very much, and I thank you for taking the time. You got it. The Commissioner of Insurance, Mike Chaney. We've put everything we could in here. Time is gone. See you tomorrow morning for the Friday edition, bright and early at 6 a.m. with Will. See you then. Ciao. And there ain't no more